Manchester City, how long do you think it could be before their first drama of the season kicks in?
I think it's already started, Amy. It's already started without a ball being kicked, because it's the drama is between Roberto Mancini and Brian Marwood, with Mancini making it pretty clear in public that he is unhappy with the club's transfers policy so far. He obviously feels that there's players to be brought in and deals to be done, and so far Man City are moving very slowly on things. They're not making any rush out to go and sign players. I think from an outsider's perspective, there's some temptation to look at that squad and say, well, maybe there's not a massive need to add to a squad that did as well as they did last season, and you would have thought would improve simply by dint of staying together for another year. But clearly Mancini feels there are things that he wants from his side, and City, for the first time since the takeover, are trying to balance the books a little bit. They're trying to get rid of these players, and it's a situation that is an issue for clubs across Europe now. It's not just the biggest spenders, but it's most defined. It's most in evidence at a club like Manchester City, where such huge wages have been handed out. You have lots of clubs who have players on wages like this who are perfectly good footballers, serviceable footballers who many clubs would use and could do something with. Players like at City, Emmanuel Adebayor and Roque Santa Cruz, but who they simply can't get off their books because of what they've decided to pay them in the past. And that's the issue that City have, is really they just can't keep bringing in players and paying them that sort of salary to sit around and do nothing. It would be interesting to know exactly what he's worried about. I mean, clearly the big piece of transfer business they're associated with is Robin van Persie. You wonder what they need up front, because they've got at the moment on their books, even if you sell Adebayor and Santa Cruz, you've got a player in Edin Dzeko who scored, I think, 18 goals last season. You had Mario Balotelli who scored 17 goals last season. Sergio Aguero, I can't remember exactly, but it's over 20 goals last season. And in Carlos Tevez, if we are now to believe he is back in the fold, another striker perfectly capable of scoring 20 goals in a season. So there's not an obvious need. There's not an obvious need, frankly, in many other places in that squad. It's a very strong squad, but it is going to be an interesting scenario to watch and see how it plays out.
Would Manchester City take another season like this one just gone? Obviously, there was the emotional and the dramatic effect of how they won the league in the end, but another Premier League title, but not much great shakes in the Champions League. Would that be enough?
I think for the fans, if they managed to get if they managed that and they were ahead of Manchester United at the end of the season, probably a lot of fans would be okay with it. But at the same time, like any club, you always want to feel like you're moving forward. You don't want to feel like you're just treading water. And I think that an objective look at what they have there, you should expect them to do more than they did this season. So you should expect them to be improving and therefore getting even better results in the Premier League, which is no small order, because they did get 89 points last season, but you'd expect them to be doing even better in the Premier League. And I think that if they had a season again in which they failed to get out of the Champions League group stage, there would be a serious question to ask about Mancini at that point, because again, at Inter, that was his most disappointing aspect of his time at Inter, was that they never really managed to make an impact on Europe. A situation made to look even worse by the fact that when Mourinho came in afterwards, he did go in his second season and win the Champions League. So I think the European thing would certainly be a disappointment for them not to get through the group stage, and they also should have a slightly better seeding this time. But I think that in truth, if they were to do that, there would be a bit of an uproar when it happened that they hadn't got through. But by the end of the season, if they were lifting the Premier League trophy, probably people wouldn't be too devastated.